Hey, welcome back to the Disney Plus Everyday Challenge, and today we have X-Men Dark Phoenix, the big finale to the 20th Century Fox era of X-Men films, core X-Men films. This is from 2019, it's an hour and 56 minutes long, and yes, this takes place, uh, even though they're not in the same version of the multiverse, same reality, this takes place, or it was released after Avengers Endgame. And man, do they love using those same particle effects that they used throughout, Infinity War, the end of Infinity War, and throughout. Anytime somebody gets dusted, they're really using those particle visual effects to the hilt in this one. Mainly because Dark Phoenix just can really just sort of mess with matter and reality and psychic abilities, and just everything else. It's just everything. She's ultimate power. She's more powerful than anybody we've seen in the Marvel universe so far. I mean, more powerful than Thanos. Yeah, it's he'd give her a little bit of a run for her money, but when she's got her wits about her, yeah, she's the most powerful. She's a force of nature, but she's just Jean Grey in this. We get an origin story that is very much unlike the origin story we got in the last X-Men movie that featured the Dark Phoenix, with Famke Janssen playing the role. This is where you know that we're already in an alternate reality from this alternate reality of X-Men films, because none of this lines up. And of course, we got a happy ending at the end of with the future original versions of the X-Men. Yeah, with Jean alive and Scott, and then and Wolverine, everything. We got that in Days of Future Past. So anything we see happening after this, with the Apocalypse film, with this, it's all its own reality. It has no bearing on what we had seen before, all going all the way back to the original X-Men. That's fine. And that actually frees things up, as long as they remain true to the core characters, and that's Xavier, played by James McAvoy, and Michael Fassbender playing Magneto, Eric Lensher. Or, yeah, Max, depending on what era you're talking about. But, so we get these characters back in the saddle again. The X-Men are beloved. They are working with the government, and they're going on special missions, even into space, to save a shuttle disaster from happening. And I believe this is supposed to be happening. You know what? They don't even bother with a decade in this one. In the previous ones, we're like, hey, we're in the 80s. Oh, we're in the 70s. Hey, we're in the 60s. Like, it was all very, very much retro themed. In fact, the Apocalypse one was taking place in the 80s. And yet, when we get a nice little flashback here, like I said, it's different than the origin we got in X-Men United. The origin of Jean and her powers and what drove her, which is also very different from the reality that happened in the comics. In the comics, her little friend, one of her best friends, died in her arms after a car accident, and she felt her friend die in her head, and she was traumatized by that. And Xavier came along and said, "Hey, Mom, Dad, she's going to be a little out of control. You don't want me to lock that down and take care of it, and she can come to my school, and we can take care of that." In this one, she wants to hear Werewolves of London by Warren Zevon. And her parents, no, they want to listen to something else on the radio in 1975. So she's 8 at this point. And if she's at least 18, maybe 21 in this, it's the late 80s, if we're going by any timelines whatsoever. And again, all of this is arbitrary. It makes no sense, and I think it's also kind of a nod to the eternal life of comic books, where, yeah, you can introduce a character in 1965, and here we are in 2025, and they have aged maybe 10 years. Just a little bit. Like, Kitty Pryde was, she premiered in X-Men 139, and she was like a 14-year-old girl. Now she's maybe in her late 20s. She's been a bartender a couple times, and she's travel through space on a speeding bullet that she had to keep immaterial so it wouldn't crash into any planets. And she was there for what seemed like years to us, but I doubt she was. And even to the characters in the book, she was gone for what seemed like forever. But very often, things that happen between, to the Fantastic Four first meeting Galactus in in Fantastic Four 48, 49, 50. Seems like you can maybe 5 years have passed, 10 years have passed technically, by the time they see him again in the 80s, or the 70s. But still, it's time doesn't really matter. But one of the things I'm gonna go all the way back to is the fact that yes, this is the final X-Men film if you don't count New Mutants. It's just with this cast, these characters, and also if you don't count the true kind of cap on everything prior to Disney, which is the Deadpool and Wolverine movie. If nothing else, it's a great big dream team up movie. It's also a big send-off thank you to everything that, honestly, if the X-Men didn't happen, if Blade didn't happen, if X-Men didn't happen in 2000 at Fox and Blade happened with, was it Columbia Pictures, Universal kind of thing? They're all over the place. Back when Marvel had to sell off all the rights to all the characters just to stay alive. Spider-Man's still at Sony. But the thing is, when if it wasn't for X-Men forming a love and understanding to a greater audience of what comic book characters can be, even if you have to put them in leather so they don't seem so ridiculous back in that day, 25 years ago, it's still pretty fantastic at what that led to. And Spider-Man coming in 2002 from Sam Raimi at Sony, yeah, that also built upon that. And what we have now is, that little Marvel Studios putting out an Iron Man film in 2008, and hey, Disney going, okay, we're just going to buy that. Just buy it all. And making the juggernaut they have now. This is not as glorious as it could be. I understand the desire to right the wrongs of X-Men United. But, and this is better than X-Men United. That is a low bar. I realize that. For many, in your opinion, it's a really low bar. But what we're getting is a story that gives us a different take on Jean Grey's collapse under the weight of so much power in her hands. There are nods to what happened in the comics. Of course, you're not going to get them on the blue area of the moon battling it out with the Shi'ar Imperium and with all that. You're not going to get all that. No. She's not going to sacrifice herself on the moon. She's not going to sacrifice an Alcatraz or have Wolverine do it instead of, Scott. But or having some sort of mystical thing she digs out of the moon and kills herself with it. Nope. You got what appears to be an alien race that has been following the Phoenix Force forever, and that's mainly embodied in the biggest star of the time this came out. And again, this is not that long ago. It's only been 6 years. Jessica Chastain jumps into the X-Men world, looking like, well, are they doing White Queen again? Because she's so platinum in this. She's not red-haired at all. She's super platinum blonde. And it almost looks like she's got no eyebrows. She's so white. And she ends up, let's say, becoming an alien. An alien takes her form, let's say. And they seek out Jean Grey, who has pulled in all this great power. Yes, there's a big shuttle sequence where it's again a nod to the comics of when Jean first burst out of the water screaming, "I am Phoenix," because Jean Grey was no more. She gained such incredible power at the time, trying to sacrifice herself to save her friends and family aboard that shuttle in a mission that, honestly, in the X-Men comics, you're like, okay, well, sure. But when you look at it in this, in the movie, you're like, they they're just like fighting racism, right? Now they're going up in a shuttle with no compression suits or anything, just no suits to protect them. I don't know. It's just that's just me. That's just me. It's a comic. It's a comic book based movie. I don't want to call them comic book movies because movies like this, all the superhero stuff that we've seen, they're not just superhero movies. They're not just comic book movies. They're movies that have that inspiration. We don't call Hunger Games a novel movie. It's based on a novel, series of novels. We call it YA, young adult, but that's the audience. That's not the format. It's not, yeah, whatever. But in this, they kind of know, because Disney's already bought Fox, and this had already probably been well into production by the time it was released in 2019. It's an hour and 56 minutes long. Did I say this? Uh, and this is after Endgame came out. And did I talk about that? I can't remember if I've talked about it. It's been rattling around my head as I was watching it. But the idea, they really love that particle visual effects throughout this. They use it to death. More than Infinity War and Endgame combined. It's astounding. So, but it's meant to show Jean's power. So, okay, I got it. She's literally at a level beyond anything and anyone in existence. If she was in the proper MCU, she would have just could have snapped her fingers and wiped Thanos from existence if she wanted to, if she understood that she could. The Jean Grey Phoenix, Dark Phoenix in the comics, blew up entire planets full of people, living creatures, because she was hungry, making Galactus look like nothing. She could just do it by plowing through it. Galactus had to set up a whole thing, as you'll see in the First Steps movie, which I haven't seen yet, but it's his whole thing. He'll be doing that. You can see it in the trailers. So yeah, we have this final film, and you kind of know that it's Simon Kinberg, who is very well attuned to the X-Men universe, has been part of it for God knows how long. He's either been a writer or producer, executive producer, but in this case, he wrote and directed this film end to end. And because they were getting down to their last breaths in making X-Men movies, I think there was a less of a budget, mainly for its stars. So we lose an actor not even halfway through this film, a pretty prominent actor who, had to move on to other things, and also the effect, because that character's effects budget was through the roof for the most part. The funny thing about actually we lose two characters not even halfway through like barely halfway in. One just disappears, like he's not even on the team anymore. But Raven, Mystique, she's running the team. This is not the comic book Mystique. And also, after all this talk in the previous films about how which one was it? It was the other one that took place in the 70s. No, it was Days of Future Past. It was the thing with she's got to show her true face, her true mutant form, not take her slave name, not take all of her the names that she was given by human parents or anything else. She's going to be Mystique. She's going to be blue and proud, and well, that kind of went out the window. We see her in maybe the first 10 to 15 minutes of the film in blue, and after that she just sort of whites out. She's the white girl again, because spend that money. Why do you need to spend that money for her to just stand around in the entryway to the mansion? And then, of course, during her, I'm going to say it, because odds are, if you wanted to see it, you would have seen this already. During her death scene, she is blue. And she also pays off she sort of pays off a kind of romantic connection, just a little bit, in her final breaths. Much to the beast's chagrin. And traumatic anger. So, it was it was one of those kind of deaths that was completely not necessary. You could argue it for a story reason, which would bring Magneto into the fray because he would want vengeance more than anything. That makes sense. But for the most part, I think it's like, okay, are we paying her by the hour? Does she have a certain amount, or can we negotiate that she's going to be on set for like a week tops? Shoot all of her stuff first, wrap her for the whole thing, and we're done. She's not going to come back in a third act resurrection. She's not going to be in an after credit sequence. It's going to tease something that's going to happen in the future because there ain't no future for these X-Men. Do I think that these people could show up again at some point? Absolutely, in the Secret Wars. When we get new X-Men, we're gonna absolutely get new X-Men. We're gonna get a new Wolverine. We're gonna get a new Cyclops and Professor X and Magneto and all these characters. We're gonna get all these. We're gonna get another Jean Grey, and we'll probably get another freaking Phoenix. But once the Secret Wars hits and there's multiple realities and multiverses and everything else just flying every which direction, these people could show up just like in like one half of a scene in Deadpool 2 where they peek through a door and go, hey, it's us. Maybe. Or they'll be generated through AI. You don't know. Honestly. People will be making these decisions seriously, if not already, very, very soon. It's like, do I have to show up on set? Will you promise I'll sign this paper if you hand me a pile of money and you only ever use my face in just this film, period? It could happen. It could happen for a lot, actually, a lot of characters. Even some that have passed away. Some actors who have passed away. And the ones I'm thinking of, well, they can't really sign off, but we'll see. So, how does this work out? Yes, we have, like I said, we have Xavier and we have Magneto as the spine in this film, and they close out the film as well as showing that their friendship and moral and ethical ways of doing things differently when it comes to protecting humanity and preserving mutantdom at the same time is still at the core of this. But for the most part, it's meant to say, hey, you know what? The X-Men are now beloved, well-known heroes to the world, and they're working with the president and the government and everything else to save astronauts and do all these great things, and the world loves it, and it just takes one little thing. And they're ready to ship them off in a train to a concentration camp. I only realize that now. Why is there a big, humongous scene involved some of them being chained with their powers nullified in a train? Why does this scene take place in a train? Well, the set, the parts that aren't digital, are very confined and easier to shoot in, I imagine, than trying to have a bunch of different rooms. Or trying to set it on the blue area of the moon, which, budget out the roof. Just blown out the water. No, you're never going to do that. So, put it on a train. Bring it full circle for Magneto. Even though there's no direct reference to that. But it takes one thing where Jean's like, I don't feel so great. I can't control this. Let me blow up my dad's house. Cops show up, hurt some cops, and also hurt some X-Men to death. And everybody's just like, screw these guys. My son used to have your action figure. He loved you. Now I'm going to put you in a prison for the rest of your life because somebody else did something. Because you're all the same. Yeah. Are there any big cameos? No. It's pretty much the group you expect. No, Deadpool doesn't poke through a doorway that I know of. I didn't see it. This is honestly the second time I've seen this film, maybe the third. I tend to see it the opening night, so I don't get any spoilers from others. And then when friends of mine, one friend or another, decides, hey, I want to go on a Sunday afternoon, I usually go a second time, and I tend to appreciate the film more when I'm not like trying to take everything in, and I can appreciate that I enjoy the film more. if this is my second or third time, honestly, I forgot how it ended after seeing it last time. Um, no matter what, the Phoenix Force tends to be, up until recently, Jean does have her own series, Phoenix, right now in Marvel Comics. It's like 13, 14 issues in at this point. She's doing all right, but she's a humongous cosmic being, and it's really hard to put on Earth, especially special effects wise, in a movie. So she's got to die. Always. Always. It's just the way it is. She's a phoenix, so she's going to resurrect until you need her next time. But in this, we close the door on a few characters. Oh, sure, we'll kill Mystique, but Jennifer Garner going to show up in Secret Wars at some point wearing clothing? Absolutely, because she did in this one. Rebecca Romaine, maybe she will too, wearing clothing, maybe wearing Mystique's white, outfit with the skulls on the belt and everything else, and the skull, that thing. That would be pretty crazy. That would be cool. Because, you know what? If it literally puts them on screen for 30 seconds, yeah. I doubt they'll be leading a film anytime soon with those actors. It's just the way it is. We're going to get a new generation, a third generation of teenage actors to portray these characters in the future. Except for Logan, which, again, he's got to be an older guy no matter what. Maybe. So, yeah, I know I spoiled a lot of stuff here, but either you've watched this and have a strong opinion about it already, or you haven't watched it because you didn't really bother with any of the X-Men films. I ruined it for you. Because they don't get better. Unfortunately. As much as I love this cast, the cast is fantastic. Sophie Turner, I love her from Game of Thrones. She's got a great sense of humor, and I think I would probably be corrupted beyond belief by hanging out with her and Maisie Williams. Also, Arya, she's Arya, also from Game of Thrones. I'm pretty sure I would have the time of my life if I ever got to be in a room with the two of them. It's dangerous, I think, when they've been in the room together with anybody, just themselves. They're fun. Every time I've seen them post something on Instagram or something together, yeah, it's nutty. We have Cody Smit-McPhee as Kurt Wagner as Nightcrawler. Evan Peters is back as Quicksilver. He's the other person who kind of just disappears. He's in the first sequence. He does his fast guy stuff, and he literally come back. Everybody's like, "Hey, you did a great job." He's like, "Hey, I'm going to take more credit than other people." He's there to be funny, and then we don't see him again at all for no reason. Well, okay, no, he does get in the battle against Jean when they try to bring her home. I forgot about that, because one interesting thing about that is that she, no matter how fast he's going, she's so powerful she can just knock him off his feet. She can see him, even at moving at that speed. And he gets knocked down and knocked out of the game. He doesn't seem to have been super injured or anything. Like, if they had broken his leg, that would have been crazy and justifiable to not put him in the rest of the film. But we see him at the very end telling some kid running in the halls at Xavier's to go, "No running." Funny. Alexandra Shipp plays Aurora, plays Storm, and she's really underutilized. Storm is so powerful herself. Again, she's young here, so she just doesn't get to really show off her powers as much. And even when it was the Elder Storm from the old films. Like, I know I can't say her name, but I know who she is. Even she was underpowered. Ty Sheridan is Scott Summers. He has a number of scenes, but he's basically supporting. The main people that are in this, of course, are McAvoy, Fassbender, Nicholas Hoult playing the Beast, because he is the one who is most angry at the loss of Raven. And, of course, Sophie, who literally just gets to fight her not American accent from coming through. And also herself, just her emotionally, she gets to do the hand wringing and the I can't control this kind of emotional stuff. And I do appreciate the fact that they did turn kind of Xavier into somewhat of a villain, but they didn't follow through with it fully. Like, Beast blames him for all of it. Raven was ready to leave because she didn't like what Xavier was putting them through for his own glory, in a sense. He's like, hey, you know what? After all the crap we've been through, it's kind of great that people are like clapping and liking us. And that's a little bit, self-centered. Not a little bit, a lot. And it's not like Xavier in the comics has not had his own moral failings from time to time. He put children. It's when him and Magneto, two old white guys, decide to battle for the fate of humanity and mutantdom. Who gets to go into battle? Children. And I don't even want to talk to you, about the fact that in the comics, some of you know what I'm about to say, Xavier had a bit of a crush on Jean. Yes, Stan and Jack did that. It's been pretty much forgotten and ignored, but we'll just forget that ever happened. It does not happen, thankfully, in the movies. So, of course, Jennifer Lawrence as Raven, I imagine she was getting too expensive, so they gone. And she really never even used her powers in this at all, other than to change from Jennifer Lawrence to blue Jennifer Lawrence. So, and then, we have, I said Cody and I said Jessica Chastain. And yeah, for the most part, there's a cameo from Dazzler, which I think was kind of great. I thought we saw Dazzler in the last one as well, for a little bit. But this one, it's played by Halston Sage. She was on the Orville, and she played Alana, I think, and I liked Alana on that. So, yeah, that's me rambling for 27 minutes about X-Men Dark Phoenix. Let's pick tomorrow's episode. I know some people say that some of my videos are too long, but 80 is the number. But I just will speak until I'm done. Don't want to watch all 30 minutes of it, then you don't have to. I appreciate it if you do. Hey, all right, we have another Marvel thing, but it's a short or a series of shorts. I'll watch one or two, and I'm pretty sure I'll get the point of it, but this one is Meet Spidey and His Amazing Friends. So Marvel can put out animated things without it being a Sony thing. They can't make movies without Sony being involved. It's a whole legal thing. But this one, Meet Spidey and His Amazing Friends, is what we're watching next on the Disney Plus Everyday Challenge. I'll see you back here tomorrow with that.